Okay, welcome back to another practice here in Oathmar, Florida at Bay Area Gymnastics Adult Open Gym. Learning once a week in the gymnastic facility, trying to see what that a minute amount of time can do to progress with a solid intention. Over the last couple of weeks, I have transitioned my focus from several activities to a singular, which has been the bar. Last week, I picked up some cues from a friend who actually gave me cues 2 classes ago to focus on one skill at a time. I worked on some cast to handstand progressions, and then the next day, I worked on some bar routines. Next practice, shall I say. And then this class, I went back to the cast to handstand progressions in the beginning of class, and then I went ahead to the strap-on bar routines. However, once getting strapped in, I did some giant and cast to handstand attempts before doing the routines, and throughout practice, my arms were deteriorating, and we did get through a decent amount of class though before my arm started to deteriorate. And I was like, oh man, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to last with class because I want to do so much more work. But if your arms can't do a giant, if you can't whip around the bar doing a back hip circle, no matter how much mental fortitude you tell yourself to do, you just won't do it. And I don't like to waste time. And I looked, it was 7:45. So I was like, okay, so we have a little bit of time, not too an extensive amount of time. I feel as though I can get plenty of good reps in, which I was only able to get a couple more reps in. And honestly, what helped a lot today too was just hanging on the bar upside down in a rested state with the bar on my hips. That sensation alone felt like something that I need to let my body get adjusted to. It elongated my body and activated sensations just by doing that alone. So definitely any way to mentally manipulate me to faster progression, I am all for it. It's good to self-reflect, and this is why I do these videos, to hear myself, to see myself, and progress faster. No matter what you think you're doing, what are you actually doing it to reality? That's why I always recommend you to record yourself or have someone watching you or have a coach to guide you, because you need guidance to progress faster. No matter who you think you are, you always have something to learn from someone, from some other outside source. Stay humble, stay a student. I'll see you next week, see how much progress we're making. Okay, I love gymnastics because it never fails to humble you. Although I'm only practicing gymnastics once a week, I have picked up gymnastics routines slightly, not a tremendous amount, but I am working it outside of the specific gymnastic gym. And I'm even doing boxing and other physical activities, running, a lot of athletic exposure I am under, and I am still nowhere near as strong as you need to be qualified as a gymnast. Today, we worked on cast to handstands, yet again, keeping the bar low, getting my hips up, getting comfortable getting my hips up. I made a lot of progress within these stages in the beginning because of how easy the stages were. Now we're getting to the point of my hips catching into a handstand, which is where the humility came in today, because sometimes when I threw myself into the stage 4, and really where I'm at, I'm stuck at stage 3. My stage 3, I can't cast into bent knees handstand. And what was notated that even if I get my hips where they need to be, can I hold handstand? No, I genuinely cannot on bar. So I put the bar and the block next to it to work on stacking my shoulders, leaning, holding that static hold. And it humbled me so much because it was challenging, as simple as that. There's no need to over-explain anything other than how strenuous that exercise was for the minute amount of time that I was under. So I definitely need to work on strength in several factors of my body, but that's why we're continuously coming here. I did eventually raise the bar and worked on some of the progressions that I worked on into the pit, some of the times I was catching myself squeezing too hard, and it was keeping my feet straight, and I was squeezing and I felt like I had more control, but it wasn't throwing my hips up. And then when I kind of relaxed a little bit and focused more on throwing my hips up, then I could focus on my legs. I never got to that point because as high as I could throw my hips is as high as I could. I was happy with some attempts. Some attempts did get fairly high. However, no matter where that limit was, once I hit that limit for my hips, nothing else of my body was going to continue to move. It was almost like hitting a brick wall of comprehension for my body mechanics in that shape in the air on the bar. So it's so fascinating to see what your body can and can't do, no matter how much you think you should be able to do it, or no matter how easy it looks. So that's why you can only know you're capable by putting in the work, putting in the reps needed to showcase, improve, and build and cultivate confidence. It does not come by thinking and trying to manifest it. You actually have to put the work in, and that's what we're doing here. I'm absolutely loving the progress that is being made so far. I see what next week looks like. Hopefully it gets a little better, and then eventually cast the handstand. Who knows? It could be next class, could be 10 classes from now, but we're still putting in the work until we get it, baby. Let's go. Okay, another fantastic class yet again completed. A lot of skills learned. I was a tad bit late, so I was 30 minutes late, so I missed out on 30 minutes of putting in work. However, nonetheless, still here. Got all the cues, even cues from a individual I met today, giving me cues, giving me notation that I was kicking too far over, which is the progression that I'm working on, but taking a little bit out and working on not getting over and more pushing myself up and back, and then trying to find the middle between those two was the biggest highlight of today's class. And then just repping that out, I did start with some progressions on the floor, really trying to keep a hollow shape when I go up and not arch my back, which is going to kill my shape. So that was fantastic. I did try to get some spots and just really just repping it out at this point. I know there's still a lot of shoulder mobility and shoulder strength lacking. However, I did get my best cast to handstand attempt, and I didn't get the chance to watch it, but it did feel like my best one. And I only had one attempt because that was literally the last 5 minutes of class. So this strap in bar attempt was all in one go, no rest, no time to get back on and do multiple reps. Nonetheless, I did a lot of conditioning, which is what really gets you what you need to have, which is the strength to do the certain activities. Nonetheless, we put in work, baby. I'm so proud of my progress. Let's keep making it. I'll see you next week. Let's go. Okay, what an absolute way to end the month here at Bay Area Gymnastics. Today I started on the floor working on conditioning with the bar and the block like previous week. And then I also got on the parallel bar. A lot of what I'm trying to do simply requires specific conditioning, gymnastic conditioning, holding shapes, which was highlighted further today on the parallel bar. I was able to do L-sit, but I wasn't really able to keep my legs over the bar as much as I would like. I did like that I have some strength to make the transition from straddle L to closed leg to tuck planche. However, in the tuck planche, my hips are extremely low. Nonetheless, I did like the bar and the block exercise today. I put the block as close as possible so I can really focus on getting my hips up and keeping my knees as close as to my chest as possible to keep a ball shape as much as possible, to bring my hips up, and then to focus on my legs, which did translate to later in class. The conditioning, however, I am loving the focus I'm developing into my conditioning, because everyone wants to do the cool stuff, but you know you're starting to really love the journey when you love the process, knowing that the cool stuff comes after the gruesome, dark, alone reps. And I absolutely love myself for that. And then I did eventually get onto the bar, working on the technique I've been working on the previous weeks, working on my stages. I'm getting my hips up, and what the problem came to today, even Flip mentioned it, is my shoulders aren't coming back. And that comes from not setting my hips high enough. I'm trying to focus so much on the escape, the landing part, and That's why I also implemented what I learned last week to work on not going over. They also find that middle ground. However, the reps in progress never lie. Either you're putting in the work and going to see your results, or you're just simply wasting time not doing anything to work towards it, or you aren't optimizing time spent to maximize energy, exertion. Nonetheless, as long as you're putting in work, it doesn't matter as long as you're progressing. But personally, I like to optimize time spent. So that's why things like conditioning is highlighted and what is need to be taken more serious, which is why we're implementing that with at least a third of class. And eventually, I might even get it to 80% conditioning and 20% having fun, which is eventually what I did end up doing at the end. I noted that even though I did get the best cast to handstand attempt in my progression, I knew since I didn't comfortably get it, I knew likely it wasn't going to happen on the straps. However, because I was strapped, you have a little bit more confidence to take riskier things. And then I tried, and it felt as though I was breaking my shape a little easier because the straps kind of kept my wrist from going over. It was just, it's weird. I don't know if the straps are not big enough or if my positioning of my hands, because when I got them where they needed to be, it was kind of hard to hold the position. So it also could be a lack of strength, which we all know Rob is lacking a lot of strength. So nonetheless, I did a couple attempts. I knew it wasn't gonna happen. Time was running out. So I just started to have fun. And I love that the bar is starting to become fun. Did a back lever, front lever attempt, front pull over, back hip circle into my cast handstand attempt, into giants. Mouthful, but more fun in real life than mouthful. Nonetheless, we are working. So glad and happy to be here. Also realize that it doesn't matter how much time you're able to spend in developing a hobby. You need to have hobbies to keep yourself happy and stimulated. Put the phone down, embrace real life, go stimulate yourself, pick up a book, go to gymnastics, go to dance class, do something you love. Even if it's just one day a week, it can take you so much further than you would ever imagine. I'll see you next week to see how much progress we're making, baby.